For those of you my age living at home,
and your life is passing you by,
do not worry. The CMHC has a plan for you. You may have to get out there and build the homes yourself, but they have a plan. And we put money to the CMHC so that they could do this research for us. And what does that research say? We need more homes. We need more homes. Yes, supply has been an issue for many, many years. Thank you for coming out and pointing out the obvious. They came out with a report this week highlighting just how many homes we need in Canada to get back to an affordable housing market. We'll be going through the report, picking out some of the things that I found interesting. We'll be determining of if it is actually feasible. From there, we will move into the topic of a potential bullish sign for the Canadian housing market, something in which I think we're kind of underestimating. I know it's on the limelight, but stay tuned. We'll dive deeper into that as we go. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Ways to Wealth. Before we get into the video, huge favor, huge ask. If you learn something new or you get some value out of the video, hit that like button for me. I definitely appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on for similar content to this. We put a video every single Sunday, so come back to the channel, come check it out. If you like the housing market here in Canada, if you like finance, stocks, etc., that is what we are all about. Personal Finance 101. And we will get right into the report, talking about all the juicy information. So as I said, Canada's housing supply shortage, restoring affordability by 2030. So currently on the market, they believe that there's probably about 2.3 million units that will come on the market between 2021 and 2030. That's 19 million housing units in that total time. But what they determine is that's not enough. How many do we need? We need an additional 3.5 million in affordable housing units, and those are needed by 2030 just to help bring supply into demand. So right now we have such a huge demand right now. We haven't been building housing enough. And the perfect example of this is to, when we talk about affordable housing, is to take a look at Toronto's community housing. So we have this chart here and it shows Toronto community housing by units in construction. And we can see we haven't really built anything since 1997. That's 25 years that we've gone without building affordable housing for our community. I've read some comments where I pulled this out of. For the most part, all the recent construction has been only renovation. So not much new and more keeping what we have, which is kind of a part of the problem. So in the report, they talk a little bit about, realistically, the last time houses have been affordable, and they pull 2003 to 2004. And in that time period, a household on average would have to devote close to 40% of their disposable income in Ontario and 45% in British Columbia. If we take a look at this chart here, we get a better indication of where those numbers sit at today. And when we look at the provinces of British Columbia and Ontario, to be specific, that number is well north of 50 and on its way to 60% of disposable income going to your household income. So that is not a pretty sign, and definitely more housing is needed. But when we talk about more housing being needed, we really need to determine if it is feasible. So what they report here is kind of some objections or some areas in which could be hurdles, let's say. So the hurdles that they mention here are significant delays between when a project is proposed and when it gets approved. So right now that is very long. The second portion, we have a labor shortage right now in our economy. It's hard to find labor to get this done. And also the supply chain. We've talked about that many of time before. We can't get the raw materials in to build the houses. And we will continue to see an increase in supply, and that'll put pressure on the cost of construction. So as we continue to build, we'll put pressure on both raw materials and labor even further. So going down and getting a expert opinion on this plan, we switch gears to globalnews.ca, and we see here from Mike Moffat, a senior policy director with the Smart Prosperity Institute. And he says, I don't think we'll be able to do it, just to put it bluntly. In addition to rising material prices, the construction industry is facing a labor crunch, waves of retirements for sheet metal workers, bricklayers, electricians, and they're not being offset by new talent flowing into the industry. These jobs are not being replaced by the younger labor force, and for that matter, every industry is struggling with this challenge right now. And what we see is basically he's summing it up is what the CMHC is telling us is that we need to try and take the shortage seriously, as an entire generation of Canadians is going to be priced out of their homes. And that is the biggest concern for me, especially when I look at my generation and just how much homes are going for. The average home being around 10 or 11 times the annual salary, which is crazy to think. I know everybody goes back to the 80s when, interest rates were 15%. Well, homes were about 4 or 5 times the salary back then. So it's a little bit of a different story. We move on now to the fact that we know that there's a problem in a shortage of houses. It's a good idea to bring it to the limelight, to come up with ideas of how to do it. But what we haven't really discussed so far is Trudeau's plan for immigration. Now, we already have a supply shortage now. What is going to happen when the mass amount of immigrants come into this country? And realistically, where they're going to settle is in big cities where we're already seeing some of these challenges with not having enough property as it is. So I get right now there's a little bit of a cool down in the real estate market because interest rates and mortgage rates are moving higher. We will eventually hit a stop point and we will have more people coming in. And just to show the magnitude, Trudeau's plans, we've heard his plans when he was going and running for re-election. It's probably in around the 400 to 500,000 mark per year, which, if you fast forward our population in 10, 20 years, if not 2050, I think by the time we get to 2050, we double our current population. So we need to start building. And if we continue to constrict supply, we will see further challenges. So we will also see here that there is an immigration backlog. Currently, it's sitting at about 2.4 million people waiting to come in. And what makes it even more important is that there's 250,000 applications that are coming in every single month. So when we take a look at this chart here, we can see what the backlog looks like dating all the way back to July of last year. It was sitting at 1.4 million there, and it's grown by 1 million. So these people, as restrictions start to calm down, will start coming in relatively quickly. And if we still have the problem of supply and these people are financially capable of buying homes, we may not see as much downside. And I'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on this. Obviously, with the rates moving higher, real estate prices have come down in certain markets 15, 20%, and it is expected to go lower. But what I'm thinking is, with the amount of immigrants coming in and with the lack of supply that we have on the market, it could be an early backstop. Now, I don't know when to time the market, but I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting on the sidelines. So what I'm trying to say is, my opinion is, I don't think the bigger, like a big correction that everybody's been hoping and wishing for. And I do think we do need to come to the market with better strategies, start building. But yeah, no, I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think the real estate market has a bigger decline, or do you see some of these factors that we listed today as maybe a potential bullish sign for the housing market in maybe 12 to 24 to 36 months? Let me know down below what your thoughts are. If you're still here with me, hit the like button. I definitely appreciate that. Hope you have a great week, markets. Happy trading.